get a sense of what's going on quickly. I often find myself switching back and forth between code and markup a lot. And of course, now with multi-monitor support, I can pick that tab up, pull him right outside, bring him over here. And I can also use all the great control scroll features. And this is going to help me justify that 6th monitor to my wife. I'm going to jump inside the product controller here. In previous versions of VS, if I wanted to find something on maybe HTTP caching, I had to know the complete name of what I wanted. Here, if I type HTTP, there's a whole lot of choices. This is more than I really need to see. Now I can type in just cache and see that we're searching within classes. And I can find that HTTP cache policy is what I want. That makes me feel good. You see, HTTP cache policy is what I need. Notice that, of course, with .NET, the classes are capitalized Pascal casing. So I can type HCP. So now that I'm familiar with what's going on inside of the library, I can get to things even faster than before. So I'll switch out of there. That Pascal casing technique and the ease of moving around your application is more than just an improvement in IntelliSense. There's also Navigate to. I hit Control, comma, and I can come into Navigate to, and I could type something like shopping, since this is a shopping site. And this is more than just using Control F to find your way around a project, especially a large project. Searching by text isn't going to cut it. Here we're searching by symbols. We're finding files like my ASHX. I'm finding JavaScript. I'm finding graphics. And I see that I've also got the shopping cart controller and the shopping cart item. I can type in cart item. There's my shopping cart item, which I could then shopping cart item. And I can go right there. We can see in shopping cart item that something's not right here. Someone has made all of these properties private. This is potentially a search and replace operation. I could do this, or I could maybe do some kind of a refactoring. But what I really want to do is hold down Alt and do a box select, and then just start typing. Yeah. And then, right there with the power of Visual Studio 2010, I immediately make all my privates public. So then I'll hit Control, comma again, and I'm going to navigate over to the shopping cart controller. We'll take a look at my get shopping cart method. I know that this is one of the methods inside of my application that's fairly complicated. There's a lot going on here. To see what's happening, I can actually right-click and use one of the many visualizers that's built into Visual Studio. Like here, I'll generate a sequence diagram. I can select things like call depth, and I'll hit OK. This is going to bring up an analyzer and give me a nice generated sequence diagram showing exactly what's happening. And notice when I scroll down that the swim lane headers don't get lost. I can scroll over. I see that there's a loop going on here. And then again, Control scroll. I can save this, check it into source control, and share it with the rest of the team, or I could be antisocial and just delete it. Let's take a look at our application and try to get an understanding about how Get Shopping Cart is going to fit into this. We'll fire up our app. This is running in local host. I'll look at the categories, and here we've got a pet shirts. This is for the Goose dog. Notice in the URL, we've got those clean semantic URLs. This is a feature of ASP.NET 4 called routing, and we're using it here in ASP.NET MVC2. Now, I know I need to get one of these red polos for my dog, so I'm going to hit Add to Cart. So we haven't implemented the shopping cart yet, so this is going to be a problem. I'm going to just pop out of here, and I need to fix that. As I'm still familiarizing myself with this code base, and it's quite large, I realize that we're using areas, and areas is a feature of ASP.NET MVC2 that's allowing us to organize the account, admin, search sections of our site, just like organizing folders in Outlook. So sections of the site are organized in areas, and they don't interfere with other sections. Here I'm going to grab the shopping cart. and it looks like there is no shopping cart. So this is the problem. I need to go and implement some kind of a shopping cart to display what's going on. And in order to do that, I'm going to add that functionality using a new jQuery plugin that Scott Gu is going to talk about in a few minutes. And I'll use code snippets to make it a little easier for me. First, I'll fire up here and make a UL to hold the shopping cart and then an LI for each cart item. And then you'll notice that we've got a HTML5 attribute here called data ID, and then this interesting curly brace syntax. Let me add a little bit more code. I've got a plus and a minus for doing my plus and minus quantity for the cart. And I've got more data binding expressions. This is all on the client side. This is in markup. So these data binding expressions are not happening on the server. These aren't ASP.NET data binding expressions. These are using a jQuery templating engine. Notice here, we've got an if statement. So I've got a little bit of user interface logic there to say if the stock is less than 5, show this div. Again, that logic is happening on the client side using only JavaScript. Then I'm going to take this, I'm going to zoom out, I'm going to grab that LI, I'm going to drag it up here, I'm going to put it inside of this script type text x jQuery template. This is where the template is going to live. We'll save that. I'm going to switch over to shoppingcart.js, and then in here, in the document ready function, I'll write some jQuery. And I'm going to use the JavaScript IntelliSense that's going to make life a lot easier for me. So here I get all the details about how that works. I'll start typing post. I'm getting information and documentation on how to use this method. We're going to go and post off to the shopping cart controller, doing an AJAX call. We're going to call that get shopping cart method, and that method is going to return some data. So we'll have notice how the tooltip updated itself. We'll have an anonymous function to catch that data. And then within that anonymous function, we're going to then use jQuery, and we're going to bring up a selector to grab a hold of that cart template. We'll take that cart template and then we'll render the data to the template. So the JSON data is coming across from the server side. It's being held in memory on the client side in the browser, and then using JavaScript, we're going to simply render that, and those data binding expressions are going to get evaluated. Then we'll take the result of that rendering and we'll append it to that UL, which represented the shopping cart, which I'll then talk to again via a jQuery selector. Then when that's done, I'll go and I'll update the total price, and I'll update the cart item count. All of this on the client side using IntelliSense, jQuery selectors inside of Visual Studio 2010. Let me fire this up and see if it works. We'll come over here. We'll grab the red one. Looks like it's low stock. I'm going to get as many as I can before they completely sell out. All of that using the jQuery templating engine that we'll hear about in a few minutes. In the past, this was very, very difficult to bring JSON across. We would be using DOM manipulation techniques, and now we can use templates inside of Visual Studio. Now that this has been done, I'm going to use web deployment and send this off to staging so that people can take a look at it. I'm going to right-click on the project and say Package and Publish Settings. And I'll come into the properties for my project. I'm going to select the staging configuration. Remember, just as Scott Gu had said, we've got web configs for debug, release, and staging, and I can have other environments as well. And then here I've selected Include All Database configured in the Package and Publish SQL tab. If I click on that tab, for the staging configuration, we've made some specific requirements that we want to bring the store data source and pull that data from an existing database